Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with special guest Alex Cuevas, PIO for North Las Vegas, and Trooper Wellman here for another edition of Trooper Talks. Alex, make sure you wave. Everybody likes it. They get excited. All right, so let's talk about things in North Las Vegas. Normally we talk about things that are on the highway and things of this nature, but we've had some things recently in the news over the past few months that have to do with speed. And so speed is something that we do on the freeways and also on the roadways. But speed is much more detrimental in a confined area. And that's what these people are doing, right? Talk to us about that.
Correct. So when it comes down to it, speeding anywhere on roadways, it is going to be dangerous. It's going to put your own life in danger or someone else's life in danger. And the big thing is everyone needs to slow down. They need to obey the speed limits, posted speed limits, or the conditions of the road, depending on how busy the roadway is. You need to slow down. Everyone just needs to slow down, especially with the holidays coming around, because the big price to pay can either be a fine or a life.
Yeah, like Trooper Wellman, we talk about, you want to mess around, you're going to get a ride in the back of the patrol car. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And
like you could wear somebody else's bracelets, right?
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah. And so in your position, one of the cool things is that you get to work with other agencies and do different things together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so although you have different agencies, you do sort of the same. Is that right?
Yeah, no matter what uniform you wear or what department you work for, we're still partners, and we work together every single day, whether it be calls for service or community events, especially with our Officer Cuevas and myself. And, when we're close friends anyway, but also close with the job itself. And so we still talk regularly. Like when he has bad calls, I have bad calls. We'll call each other. With us having similar positions with public information officers, we will run things off each other, and we like to do group projects together. So it's one of the perks to this position, I think, because I love working with all the different agencies and building these friendships.
Yeah, and one of the things we talk about, the fact of sometimes there's bad days, and sometimes there's things that you need to be able to talk with and have someone not judge you and be able to just listen with an open heart and say, okay, I understand that. And so being in your position, you deal with things on the front line generally before others, right?
Correct. So with that, we need to make sure that the public understands what's happening, what's going on, but it doesn't interfere with any integrity or hinder the case of the investigation. So that way we make sure that we do our job as best we can. And on the front end, what the public sees, they're going to look at it and say, what's going on, and have millions of questions. Then it also goes into call to arms. People need to understand that we are going to see these cases day to day or week by week, depending on severity, and we're going to ask the public either to slow down, to not drink and drive.
Let's talk about the fact of drinking and driving, okay? Trooper Wellman and I, we're now passing episode 67, right? And so it's very important. We talk, and I feel just as Trooper Wellman when these tragedies happen. And so, we have to stop many things, right? But we have to start with one thing. And so one of the things that we always keep talking about is the drinking and the driving. Talk to us about that, please.
I mean, as Trooper Wellman touched on, no matter what uniform you put on, we're one family, and we all have the same message. Everyone needs to put down their phone and start thinking about what they're going to do next. If they're drinking, they should not be driving. There are so many options available out there. There's Uber, Lyft, rideshare. There's a friend. There's your legs that can walk, or any different avenues to get home instead of getting behind the wheel after being inebriated or intoxicated and driving home.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we never talked about the fact that, I imagine that some people, when they drink, they're probably so close to their home that they probably could walk or something of that nature, and they don't even have to get in a car.
Yeah, it's a great option.
And we, it never even, we've been doing
simple
this
as
so
that.
long. See, that's why we have a fresh set of eyes come in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. That's
But
why when he said that, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that.
Right, but
walk
it's the truth. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that if you want to go out and drink, that there's probably places that are within walking distance that you probably wouldn't even need to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just comes down to planning ahead, being responsible and planning ahead. If you know you're going to go out and get impaired and have a good time that night, that's perfectly fine, but you need to plan ahead and have a ride set up or have someone come pick you up, or like he said, just have a solution to this position that you're about to put yourself in, so that way you don't hurt yourself or anyone else. And, our ultimate goal when we wear this badge is we want everyone to get home safe. That's why we want everyone to slow down. And unfortunately, the top 2 leading causes, and it continues to be, is speed and impairment for our fatalities here in Nevada. And so even though Officer Cuevas works for a different agency, he's still part of the state of Nevada. And in his city, he sees, it hits even harder with him because they work with they see these people more than once, usually the citizens of North Las Vegas, and it's like they're the community members. And so when he goes to these fatality scenes, there's a good chance he actually recognizes these individuals. And so that's a totally different element that he experiences than I, because yes, have I gone to fatalities where I've recognized someone? Of course, but that doesn't happen as often as it possibly does with Officer Cuevas. And so that's why it's important to have that battle buddy and someone you can vent to and talk to, so that way, in this job, it doesn't build up and it doesn't, keep getting worse.
Yeah, and we're going to get to some pictures and stuff, but, the community policing, you know what I mean? Like, we always talk about the fact of the badge and what it is. We just did a big thing with the Clark County School District Police for the Shop with the Cop. And we had Officer Cook on here with the dog Oreo.
Yes.
Right? And so what he did is he went into the store and he had these little pieces of paper that smelled like meth, and he went around and the dog found it all. And so it was very, very interesting. But the reason I say that is that when we were doing stuff, we did stuff on the green screen, and it was really cool because normally we don't stand. We sit like this. And we were standing, and I was just looking at his badge, and I said, and we were talking because the children look at that badge, and I said, it's very important. We have to, continue to look in a positive light.
Right.
You know what I mean? All right, you ready to get emotional now?
Sure.
All right, good. All right, we're gonna see what we got here.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so this is complete coincidence. Okay. That you're on here and this tragedy happened. My wife and I are married 22 years. We don't have any kids. Trooper Wellman obviously has a young daughter. And so one of the things that we talk about is the young children. And so it really gets underneath our skin. And so let's get emotional on the sense of that, this is your area, right? And so it came out today, and I'm not quoting something from you. We're quoting something from all the news agencies of the intoxication level and of what these people were doing. And I'm not asking you to comment on an ongoing investigation. So let's talk in a general sense. We have to stop. We have to stop this. I mean, two young children are never going to grow up and are never going to eat breakfast or lunch or dinner again because someone chose and made a choice to drive while intoxicated, in a general sense.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, it goes back to the call for arms. This is avoidable. This is absolutely avoidable. Car seats are necessary. Don't drink and drive. Plan ahead. There's so many options that could have prevented this tragedy from happening. And as for the arriving officers on scene, they're going to see this forever. They're going to remember this forever. I was on the scene. That photo on the left is actually mine. I had to take that. I'm going to remember that for life. And it's something that we wish we never have to see, but we know it's going to be out there. And we're going to keep pushing the message that this is avoidable. Don't drink and drive.
And again, I'm not quoting you. I'm quoting other news agencies that have quoted on these things to the fact of what happened to these to one of the young children, right, on the scene, right? I mean, like, it's
one of the benefits of Officer Cuevas being here today is he can give you the preliminary details to this crash. If it was me, I can't speak about from another police department's because this is their investigation.
Right.
But it is his department's investigation, so he can give you the preliminary details from this crash, if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, I just, the purpose of Trooper Talk is that we save one life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so if someone watches this and I mean, it's too much already.
Absolutely. It's going to be emotional for everyone. There were several witnesses on scene. The 911 calls, having to listen to those, that's heart-wrenching. There's a lot of people that were affected by this, and when it comes down to it, this should be heart-wrenching to everyone. They should say, wow, how can I prevent this? How can I prevent that from happening? And maybe they look at their friend one night after they're drinking and say, don't drive, I'll call someone. Or, let's walk home. This is absolutely avoidable.
Yeah, and one of the things that really bothers me about this too is the fact of the car seats and the children not being in the car seats.
Correct. There's so many nonprofits have actually stepped forward and said, hey, we are here. We give out car seats, we install them for you, we check them, we make sure everything's good. Even going on NHTSA, their website, you can check your vehicle model and see what car seats are best fit for your vehicle. But you also have to make sure that you fit the age range, the height, and the weight of the child. And when doing that, since it is getting cold, a lot of kids wear puffy jackets. You need to account for that.
Yeah, and I think I don't know when it was, maybe 5, 6, 7 months ago, we had a thing about the
Updating of
about
the
the
child.
updating of the child's seats, and
Correct.
it wasn't about the tallness or something. It was about the weight or something like that.
It used
right?
to be 6 years old and 60 pounds. It had to be both. Now it's 6 years old and 57 inches, so it has to be both, and that's 4 feet, 4.75.
Right.
But so you have to be both 6 years old and 57 inches in order to start adjusting that child's seat. And, the booster seat, and there's all different levels of the restraint. So if you ever question if your child is properly restrained, you can come down to any police department. You can come down to the fire station. You can come down to the hospitals. And like Officer Cuevas was saying, there's so many resources out there. You can just real quick, if you have, majority of people have a cell phone and internet, and you can look on Google real quick of different resources that are close to you that would provide these resources for you. It's just not worth it in the big picture. If something, and you might be doing everything correct, driving right, minding the speed limit, you're wearing your seatbelt, you have your child buckled in, but if somebody chose to make the wrong choice that day and they put your family or your life in danger and cause a crash, you want to make sure that you are restraining your children, are restrained as well. Like he said, the jacket, something as simple as, hey, maybe that strap isn't as tight because you have the puffy jacket. Maybe you should take the jacket off, restrain your child, and then put it back on when they get out of the vehicle. If that makes them more secure in the vehicle, every little bit helps, because seatbelts ultimately save lives, and especially these child seats. They definitely save these children's lives. And we'll never know the answer fully, but maybe those children would still be here today if they were properly restrained. We do know that they would still be here today if that driver didn't make that poor decision, to get behind the wheel. But these are this is the end result if you don't choose right. So it's just fatal consequences. It's absolutely devastating. But I will say one thing about this crash that actually, kind of touching on what you were saying, was it's everywhere right now. It is all over all our news media. Everybody's talking about it, and I'm actually happy about that because it needs to be out there. It hurts hearing it, and it's supposed to, because this isn't supposed to happen. You know, when you see the pictures, it's supposed to make you sick to your stomach because it's not supposed to happen. And so the fact that it's out there, it's making people now think twice before getting behind the wheel, as well as making sure their children are restrained. So if there's any positive out of this, it's that it's out there and people are thinking twice. So that's all we can do, because this is the reality of it if you don't, plan ahead, unfortunately.
And you see this, right? And you see it firsthand, right? Like, we see like sort of the images and sort of the thing, you know what I mean? Like, and so when we first started doing the Trooper Talk, we used to have pictures of shoes, right? When somebody would pass. And so that shoe was somebody's life, right? Like, on the road, right?
Like, how many fatalities have you been to where it's just, I no joke, like 9 out of 10 that I've been to, there's always a shoe on the ground. They're always like out of their shoe.
Quite a lot.
Have you ever noticed that? It's very interesting.
And so we that's how we always used to think about things, you know what I mean? And then we stopped doing that. And so, okay, so now you see this, and you're in your patrol car and you're driving home, or get a cup of coffee, or you know what I mean? So what goes through your mind? Because the basis of what we want to talk about is the fact of, we never want to put you into that position where you have to think about these things. So talk to us through some psychological things that you go through that no one else would ever know because you're by yourself.
So the big thing is, obviously the question, why? And then we know somewhat of the how. And then it goes into, how can I get the message out there? How can I prevent that from happening? And me being in my position, it allows me to actually put out a message of, this is preventable. And we're going to keep saying that this is preventable. And I hope that sticks with everyone. But when I take off the badge and I remember this, it's still going to be heart-wrenching.
And so do you go to a private place in your mind to sort of put that somewhere, or do you, like, so that you can move on to the next point, or what do you do?
Absolutely. As law enforcement officers everywhere, you're going to have to compartmentalize and find a way how to move on, still do the fullest duties that you have to do, because there may be the next call that you're going to. There's still the next day that you're going to, and you just hope that these calls don't happen again. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where people are going to make their decisions, but you just hope that they don't.
I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot,
Sure.
but Officer Cuevas and I were talking about this on the phone and just as friends. And, one of the things you said, and it broke my heart, was that you were just saying it's like going to haunt your dreams for a while. Like, the images are going to keep popping up. And that, it's true. Like, I totally understand what he's saying, and because he had to see it, and they had to still do their job. And then one of the things you had said that, like, stuck with me was that every officer on scene, when they got there, almost, like, had to process it for a second and, like, kind of froze. And then it was like, okay, we have a job to do. And it was like they had to just go almost robotic for a moment because it was such a horrific scene. And, we're all human, so you're not supposed to see things like this. But ultimately, we do it so that you and our community doesn't have to. And, that's the weight of the badge. And that's what people don't understand, is that badge is heavy because of these calls like these.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to realize and understand, you know what I mean? Because maybe if we can't get through to someone by telling them, like you're saying, you know what I mean? The stop, that maybe they can see this and they go, well, I care for the people of law enforcement, so I don't want to put them into that position to see. I don't know the way to stop it, but I'm just trying to think the opposite way, and so that's one of the things that when we talk on the Trooper Talk, it's about that. You know what I mean? So.
Absolutely.
We can continue to keep talking about this because I have other things to talk about. I mean, you just had those horrific crashes from speed. You know what I mean? So, all right, we'll go to the next thing. What do we got here? Man arrested for driving 106 in a posted 45. So,
Yep, I posted this last night.
I don't remember the speed of the I think it was the Dodge Challenger, right? That whatever it was that was in the North Las Vegas 6 months ago.
Yeah, January 9th.
Right.
Crash Cheyenne Commerce.
So that was the beginning of the year, right? And so we deal with this stuff on the freeways that we always talk about. That they catch these people at 141 miles an hour, and you know what I mean? Talk to us about this.
Oh yeah. So this image actually got sent to me by our traffic officers, and they said, "This is the stuff that people need to see." Driving 106 in a posted 45 mile per hour zone, that should not be happening. This driver is lucky that he didn't crash or veer off into someone else. He could have lost his life. Someone else could have lost their life, or there just could have been serious harm for the entire community. And it's not just physical, whatnot. It's still the emotions that the community would feel if this vehicle were to hit and kill someone else. It would be tough. So the big thing is getting this information out there, showing that 106 and a 45 is not the thing to do. Yes, that's a cool car. It's a Stingray, but there's other resources out there. There's a racetrack that you can pay to be on. Our roads are not the racetrack to be on.
Yeah. I was just going to say that, we had the people, the guy that killed somebody that drove one of those fast cars, whatever it was, 8 months ago, a year ago in the Spring Valley area or something. And we find these people on the freeways. I mean,
I feel for this officer, this motor unit walking up, because this is your city, right? This is the city that you guys serve and protect. And maybe this car doesn't remember it, but you guys do, of the bad fatality you had almost a year ago. And how many lives were lost in that one?
9 total. 8, and then plus the original driver.
And it's like, you'll always remember that. You'll always remember that speed took 9 lives of that family. So when this officer is walking up to this car, it's probably flashing through his mind is like, you don't understand what 106 can do. I've seen it, and this is why this is not tolerated, because I've seen it. And it's like you wish somehow you could tell these cars and these drivers, you could tell these drivers, like, this is why, because I don't want to see this happen to you or another family, and sometimes seeing is believing, and it's just frustrating.
Frustrating, horrific. And again, not saying that 106 on a freeway is any better.
No,
you know what I mean? Like we're not saying that, but the difference is that you're on a freeway that maybe there's no one else there. These type of things, like it's too fast. That all someone needs to do is walk.
Ugh.
And so let's just say it has nothing to do with the car. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like you can drive any car and drive. You know what I mean? But the thing is that people are getting these fast cars, and they think that the fast car means drive fast. And so that's not what it means.
Correct. Everyone just needs to slow down, post a speed limit, no matter what car you drive. It's not a race car. Even if you can afford a race car, have a race car, our roads are not meant to be the racetrack. Go somewhere else.
And so, thank goodness, like you said, that this ended in not in a positive way, but in a positive way, not in death or harm or anything like that to the driver or anybody else, right?
Correct. The driver was arrested for 6 counts of reckless driving. He did not have his driver's license with him. It was actually suspended, and he did not have proof of insurance.
Okay, so let's be suspended driver's license, right? The no proof of insurance, right? I mean, this is someone who should not be on the road.
Absolutely. And now that you say he has no insurance, that means if he did injure someone or crash into somebody, they're going to have to figure it out with or hopefully they have insurance on their car because this person's not insured.
Right. I never even thought of that. See, and you know, I'll tell you, we should try to get somebody on the Trooper Talk to talk to us about the insurance. Maybe I should get my insurance agent to talk about that, because here's the thing. I don't think people realize that. I never even thought of that. That if this person got in an accident and killed you and he owns nothing, not that you would sue somebody for that, but I'm just saying that, like, you wouldn't even get your tire repaired.
Correct. It would have to come off your insurance.
Okay. Let's stop this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. All of this is preventable.
All right. So Trooper Wellman sent me this right before we went on air. And so here's what I'm going to tell you. This stuff is very, very important, okay? We talked in the beginning, which we never talked about the walking to the bar. I mean, I'm sure don't walk home and, fall or something. You know what I mean? Let's be clear on that, right? But the thing is that we happen to live in a place where there are so many resources to be able to not drive while impaired. We have legal marijuana. You can be impaired on that. We have prescription medication, which you can be impaired on. We have illegal drugs, which you can be impaired on. We have alcohol that you can be impaired on. And so there's no reason in the world that anybody should get behind a wheel. Right, Trooper Wellman?
Absolutely. There's never a good excuse. It's all preventable. And all of our community partners, as you see down here, from Lyft to Zero Fatalities to even, facilities that, like bars, if you want to say, PT's Tavern.
Whiskey
Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
Downtown Summerlin has tons of bars. All of these casinos and businesses want you to come and have a good time, but they want you to get home safe, And that's why they partnered up with Zero Fatalities to offer, they all put in money so that they could offer you a $5 discount code so that you can use Lyft if needed, and you can get to your destination, home from your destination safely. And so this is actually good in Reno, Sparks, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and Summerlin, because those are like high populated areas where people, we see people not making the best decisions, or they have more resources there where they have the ability to drink and drive or get impaired. And so that's why we want to make sure that we put this in place to try to help them. And this code, this one's for the Christmas weekend, but we'll also have another one for New Year's Eve that we'll be posting on all our social media handles.
And that you post on the Twitter and things like that for the
Twitter,
Nevada State Police and everything like that. Right?
And it'll also be on Zero Fatalities website, Lyft's website, probably actually all the partners, the sponsoring partners will have it on their website as well. But worst case scenario, you'll find it on ours, Lyft, and Zero Fatalities.
And so, Deputy Cuevas, the North Las Vegas, you know what I mean? Like, so this is a city that, has a population of many different types of people. And so the people of every city, but when it comes to North Las Vegas or Summerlin or Reno or anywhere, they have to make the right decision. And the right decision is that if you are going to drink in an establishment, you need to make the right decision. We also talk about the fact that there are people that now have holiday parties and Christmas parties and Christmas home parties and these type of things, right? That those people who are doing those parties need to make the right decisions as well, which is to make sure, like Trooper Wellman and I have talked about, if you're going out to those things, those people need to make the right decision and make sure that those people who are at that party, if they're drinking, they're not driving home.
Correct. It takes a community. Look at all these community partners. You have the casinos, you have the bars, you have so many establishments that want you to get home safe, but it also is the community that helps these businesses and establishments stay afloat and flourish, but they want the community to get home so they can come back and enjoy their time. They want the community to get home and spend time with their family or whatever it may be, because these crashes that happen, again, extremely preventable. It also does mess with the normal flow of traffic and can cause huge delays, especially on the freeway or major thoroughfares. It can block a lot of things in a city.
And
The ripple effect.
yeah, and what I was just going to say was, when it comes to, the alcohol, it's different for each person. Just because this person had 2 drinks within the last hour doesn't mean that you can have 2 drinks within the last half an hour.
Right. Everybody's tolerance.
And so we have to make sure that, if anybody is doing these type of activities, that they need to, stay and just not get on the roadways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and just like Officer Cuevas said, it is a community partnership that we all have to be responsible for each other. Ultimately, you're responsible for yourself, but if you see something, say something. Like, if you can prevent someone from getting behind the wheel, they're not thinking clearly, take their keys. Be a hero and don't let them drive. And I saw something recently that they're starting to talk about these establishments and them being responsible as well to cut off serving these individuals.
Yeah.
Or making sure they kind of find out, maybe go a little bit deeper and find out, how are you getting home? Like, if I keep serving you, and everybody wants to stop. We want 0 fatalities ultimately.
Of course.
And so everybody's trying to find a solution.
No, it's fantastic. You know what I mean? And that's why we want to do our part to make sure and, to get the word out, to get people so that they keep talking about these type of things so that they can stop doing these type of activities. All right. So I was driving the other day. I forget when this was, and I saw this. Because I was traveling this way on the freeway. I was going down to Henderson, and I saw this. I didn't know what it was. I saw the school bus off to the side of the thing, and then later on in the day or whatever, I saw the picture.
Yeah. So preliminary details on this crash was that it was IR 215 and the Windmill eastbound off ramp, and so this individual he was quite tired, is what he stated, and that he was somewhat distracted and looked down, and when he looked up, the bus had, stopped for traffic ahead, and he was following too closely. So in an attempt to avoid striking the bus, he steered to the right, and then he drove the side of the bus right there on his left side. As you can tell, that bus was fully occupied with 20 plus elementary students. All were okay, but 2 did get transported just for minor injuries. But, I mean, that's our precious cargo right there. That's our babies, and could have been way worse. Yeah. All because we're not paying full attention while we're driving. And just because you are not physically impaired by a controlled substance or, alcohol or anything does not mean that you can't be impaired and not safe to drive by being tired. Or we always talk about prescription medications and stuff. Yeah. But, if you're too tired to pay full attention, do not get behind that wheel. Again, why are you going to put yourself or anybody else and possibly 20 plus children's lives in danger because you're too tired? Just stay home.
Stay home.
Or take a nap in your car in a parking lot and then drive. You gotta think smart about this. So, yeah, all could have been prevented. Just would have paid full attention. So
yeah, and in the city, most of the time, you see this, probably somebody wakes up very quickly and they're like, I'm just driving to the store and getting some milk and I'm coming right back, and they're like half-eyed asleep, like, oh, I just need some milk for my coffee, right? I mean, you're laughing over there, but I'm sure it happens, right?
It does.
And so any type of impairment is not good.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so we always say that, if you feel something and you don't feel 100%, then try not to put yourself into a position, because one of the things that we talk about, the fact of that vehicle, and again, nothing to do with this or anything like that, but that vehicle is a missile, and so if you don't control it, it can really hurt people. All right, crash near I-15 and Charleston. We were just talking about delays, and so one of the things, Officer Cuevas, that we always talk about is the fact that when an when a crash happens, that it could be hours, right? Just like a scene that you have, before a roadway is, I didn't even ask you how long that roadway was blocked off or whatever, but there's a crime scene investigation that has to go on, right?
Absolutely. These scenes are going to cause several hours of road closures, and then that ripple effect, as Trooper Wellman said, can cause other people to not understand that they can't go through this scene. And then they're going to be frustrated and try to drive around, find alternative routes that many other people are using that aren't meant for the major traffic. And with that, people need to understand that when you use these alternative routes, you're not used to them. Please pay attention to the posted speed limits. Pay attention to the other drivers around them, and don't be frustrated. Don't be frustrated. It's going to take a little bit longer, but get home safely.
Yeah, and we've talked about sometimes, and again, that's interesting you bring that up, because we've talked about the fact of sometimes the cars have to be diverted onto a different off-ramp that someone is not used to going onto. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden they're driving down a road, like we've talked about in Henderson, those roads that have those big dips. And so all of a sudden you're speeding along and you hit one of those dips, and that's the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the area, more reason to drive with caution.
Yeah.
You don't know if there's a roundabout coming up that you're not familiar with, or like you said, a dip in the roadway, or he hit it on the head though with those roadways aren't like, this is at least a 6-lane highway right here,
right.
15 in Charleston, because of the volume of the traffic. So when you have to divert everyone off just Charleston, well, you're looking at major delays. So that's a nightmare.
And that's what I was just thinking about, like when you were saying that. And so that's very interesting, because when this happens, everybody is frustrated. And everybody's like, I just want to go, just get out of the way. And everybody wants the same. And so it's not really the case. And so there has to sometimes be accident or crash investigations, because someone may have lost their life or something. Right?
To overturn a vehicle, especially in this location, I will tell you that speed played a factor. I don't know all the details on this crash, but I know that speed did play a factor. And unsafe lane changes. If you look at the restricted access right there, the solid white, like, you're not supposed to split that. That's there for a reason, because it's not enough room to make these lane changes. And if I'm not mistaken, the vehicle veered over, struck the wall, overcorrected, and overturned. So, to be traveling at a speed fast enough to overturn your vehicle, it had to be going quite fast. So all could have been prevented. Slow down.
Yeah.
Simple
and
as
again,
that.
it doesn't look like a race car that is made to do these type of things.
That sure doesn't look like a racetrack either. So.
All right, joining forces. All right, we love these guys. So this is all part of. So we had Officer Campbell on here. Who else did we have on here? We had Brian Zink on here.
Lieutenant Zink.
Yeah, we had Lieutenant Zink on here, and Brian Campbell, Sergeant Campbell, and they talked to us about the joining forces, and they talked to us about trying to slow these people down, and so it was really cool. We had the motorcycle on the green screen, and it was very exciting, and
Nice.
And so, everybody has the same mission.
Yeah.
Stop these people from driving fast on these roadways. That is part of the mission. The other part is the drinking and driving, but if we start with something, then we can at least build on something.
Absolutely. The big thing there was the top left picture. The crosswalk in the background was where Santa was crossing. And if you see someone with their foot in the roadway, in the crosswalk, they have the intent to cross. You better slow down, make sure you pay attention, even make eye contact with them. As the driver and as a pedestrian, you need to stop for pedestrians. So if they're in the roadway, they have the right of way. If you have time to slow down, slow down.
Explain that law again so people understand.
And Santa starts putting his feet in the roadway. It's not going to be right when you are already encroaching onto the crosswalk. You're going to be quite some ways away. If you're going the speed limit, then you have a perfect amount of time to slow down and stop behind the line.
Okay.
If Santa's already in the crosswalk and his feet are in the crosswalk, he has the intent to start crossing, slow down, stop.
Stop, that's it. Okay.
You have to yield.
Right. And so that's something that is very important because most people don't know that.
Correct. And it's nothing that people should be upset about. Just understand that it's a problem that everyone is seeing across the valley, across the U.S. Pedestrian safety is a key to making sure that your community stays safe.
And it's up to the pedestrian too, though, right? Like you said, the pedestrian has to make eye contact with the driver, even though it might be the driver's responsibility. We have to have some area of pedestrian, right, so that they know that they're not entering into danger, right?
Correct. So as a pedestrian, you're going to be crossing any crosswalk on our roads. Make sure that you're just not jumping in front of a car and say, oh, I have the right of way, while a vehicle is barreling down the roadway at 45 miles per hour. You're not going to survive that.
Well, what I can tell you is that we had a lot of fun.
I could imagine.
And we were talking and stuff like that, and they're very passionate about what they do for the Clark County School District Police, specifically, for the children. And what I didn't know is that Sergeant Campbell is very passionate about crosswalks.
Very.
And so I thought, he really is crazy about the speed too, but he's really about the people with the crosswalks and the this and the that, you know what I mean, and all that stuff. And so, that's something that you have to deal with that generally Trooper Wellman doesn't. But the thing is that we're all a family in this. And so if one person hurts, then we all hurt.
Yeah.
And so
every agency's in that photo. That's the beauty of it, is everyone was out there with the same mission, like you said, same goal in mind, to raise awareness for pedestrian safety. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they did 133 traffic stops that day and issued 144 citations. It was around those numbers, 30s and 40s.
but
I know
this
that.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah, all because of the actions of all of them, and so it's great.
Now, if there's a time where there's 0 citations written and no traffic stops, that means everyone's doing a great job.
Yeah.
That means
we're having
following.
a pizza party or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That'd be amazing. There'd be, honestly, a lot of these officers wish that the number wasn't so high or there weren't any citations at all. But we still have to make sure that we educate the public on speeding, on pedestrian safety, vehicle safety, all of it.
Right. And let's be honest, that if somebody doesn't see a guy like that in a big purple suit, there's a big problem.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We did have a person come up and voice his concerns about the stop after he was issued a citation.
Right.
And we informed him that, this is not the time to argue the citation. That's what court is going to be for.
Right.
So if you get stopped and a citation is issued to you, go to court. If you don't like it, go to court.
Yeah,
You know,
you
it's
can dispute
interesting.
it there.
I was just going to say that, I watched the TV shows where they have the law enforcement, programs, the live TV programs, right? Mm-hmm. And so 9 times out of 10, when someone gets pulled over, they're not very nice. And so what the lesson is that the ones who are nice every time, the police officer is nice. You know what I mean? And so, it's a matter of just, thank you, you can be upset or something like that, but, it's a matter of, so many people that I watch on these programs, they think the officer is the one who is the wrong when they're the one that did whatever it is that the officer put him in. You know what I mean? It's not like they drove the car, they had a warrant, and, they knew they had one, and so they decided to, do things. And so anyway, I don't know how I got on that tangent, but the thing is that with the joining forces and stuff like this, we need to get that number to 0, right? And so,
Absolutely.
So the thing is that it was amazing. He looked at what he was doing and he found this stuff, And so he goes to all these schools to teach people about the drugs and like to make it as friendly as possible. But like he's like it was just amazing to watch. And so it was amazing to watch the handler, and it was amazing to watch the dog, and it was amazing to watch them interact with each other. And so anyway, so I just wanted to highlight the fact of that. What they do is in a different way of what you both do, but it's all in the same. And so anyway, so I just wanted to highlight that and tell everybody about them and what they did in the store and stuff like that. And
does your department right now have any narcotic dogs, or are they all patrol dogs?
They're dual purpose.
Oh, dual. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So their dogs, their canine units are patrol. So
they go after narcotics as well as items and suspects.
And so so
figure out a word that.
so that was he said to me his doesn't go after any suspects.
Correct. Right now they only
he just smells out the things.
Yeah, either does ours. Our canine units are solely narcotics, firearms, and we have a bomb detection dog.
And so they find it and then they just stop.
They alert.
Or alert. I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah. Whereas theirs will find suspects
and actually go after them.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's very scary. I've seen that before. One day we'll have to talk about that. That's
called a patrol canine.
Yeah, we can make it happen. And I do follow the real Oreo on Instagram.
yeah, he's great, right? Yeah, the real Oreo.
Throw that out
he
there.
is pretty famous here in town.
That's what he said. He had all these Instagram things and all this stuff. Yeah,
it's because you can pet him, and that's why he can go to like all the little kids and the events. So
I mean, he was really great, and they were great together. You know what I mean?
Well, they're a team.
They really it was very special. It was very special to watch. And so anyway, he he wasn't going to come, and then they asked him to come because I was very excited. And so anyway, all right, winter break. So let's talk about winter break.
Yep, with all the kids being out and about, parents, caregivers, guardians need to make sure that their children or children that they are in the care of understand that when they're playing in the streets to be vigilant of cars. If they're walking to and from a friend's house or the store, be vigilant of cars. They need to be paying attention more to the surroundings rather than their phone. Because if they're not using the crosswalk, if they are just in the middle of the street or jumping into the crosswalk while not paying attention to oncoming cars, it can put them in serious danger. And we need these kids to be home for the holidays. We need them to be with their families or be with their loved ones, and that way we don't see a loss of life.
Yeah, they're our future.
Yeah, and one of the things we talk about is the fact that if you don't trust the person to get behind the wheel with, don't get in the car with them.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if there's 4 or 5 people and you're all, horsing around in the back of the car while the person is driving at 70 miles an hour, you know what I mean? Because you just got your license, or it's, you're home for winter break, right? For, first year of college, all these things, that's not the appropriate thing to be doing either. Mm-hmm. Right? And so the freeway is not the joking and thing like that in a car, grabbing the steering wheel and doing these funny things. That's not to be doing, right?
No, absolutely not. It could have fatal consequences. And just like Officer Cuevas said, just to echo it, these children are home for the holidays, most likely from college, or, well, I guess those are adults. But the kids are at home right now because school's out, and they need to take this time to, spend time with their family and their loved ones and to keep themselves safe and out of harm. So, if anything can be prevented, looking twice before crossing the street, stay out of the roadways, make smart decisions before getting in a vehicle if you don't know that individual or don't trust them with your life, don't put yourself in those situations.
Yeah. We want everyone to go back to school and do all these other things so that we have a positive future for next year.
Absolutely.
A tractor trailer failed to maintain its travel lane, striking the guard. I saw this.
Yeah, and again, this one, and I'll speak freely on it because nobody was hurt, luckily. But this driver fell asleep, and he's driving a commercial vehicle, a tractor trailer. I mean, and he fell asleep. Can you imagine the damage, the the individuals he could have hurt and killed with this weapon, right? Luckily, it was only the guardrail, and it woke him up. And his truck was about to tip and roll down. This is the exit for the speedway, but it balanced somehow. He hit it just right. But again, this one shut down the IR-15, which this is, highly traveled highway, and it's right off Speedway. Luckily, we were able to divert everyone, and they could jump back on. But this was closed for hours, and it happened in the early morning. Sergeant Smacka was on this one, but all because he fell asleep.
Okay, so fell asleep, caused this accident. Luckily, no one got hurt. But it's not about just hurt, it's about time, right? And so something that we can never get back is time. And so all of a sudden, if you're that car that normally travels this road and it takes 6 minutes to get from point A to point B, and now it takes 38 minutes.
Dude, how many people on that one work at the Amazon factory right down the street, and now they're all late. All them packages are delayed. There's tons of warehouses out there that are huge distributing companies that are all now delayed because of the actions of that individual.
And so that's something that we can't have. You know what I mean? Again, Officer Cuevas, we talk about the personal decisions, right? We talk about the fact that, don't drink and drive, but, don't put yourself in that position. I mean, I don't know tractor trailers. I've never driven in one, but that sure looks like a big cab on the back that somebody could have taken a nap.
Yeah, he had a sleeping cab, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I see these guys all the time sleeping in the parking lot here. It makes my blood boil. But, what do you do?
Yeah.
And so they're here, they go in their thing, they sleep, and then they drive off.
Yeah, and seeing stuff like this, now you might think twice, but like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's good that they're taking a nap before
At least
they get
they're
back
taking
on the
a
road.
nap.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Speed. 108, 102.
Yep, these was our motor units, so our problem-solving unit, PSU, they were out on, we make it known where they're at because we're not trying to make it a speed trap like people say.
So
we actually want it to be
were.
known. Yeah, we take the picture so that they know. And this is on the app Waze, and you can see how many units are out there, and people still are traveling at speeds of 108 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone. It's absolutely insane.
And so, obviously no difference from where we talked about yours at the 106, and again, not saying that being on the freeway is any different, but these speeds are too much.
Yeah, 106 impact is the same as 100 on the surface street is the same as 106 impact on the highways. It doesn't matter where you're at; it's 106.
And I see cars.
It's insane.
I see cars driving at 106 miles an hour. You're not staying in one lane. I mean, you're
splitting traffic to
right,
get around. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's no possible way.
Yeah.
Zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. Officer Cuevas, anything to add? Slow down.
Slow down.
Right.
Well, I beg of you. Slow
I beg
down.
of you, right? All right, Officer Cuevas, what do you think? You got
That's
through
fantastic. Thank you.
Pulled the Band-Aid off.
it. Yeah, you
Right.
did, right. So we'll finish with the fact of that we get the opportunity to see each other once a month.
Yeah.
And so I get a chance to see Trooper Wellman once a week. I'm trying to get her to go to the IPOF more and more. But, right.
Okay, I'll be there.
Right. And, but, one of the things that we have between you and I is that you have been in this position for not a long time, but what is it? It's like a little
going
over
on
a
3
year.
years.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember when you came to the IPOF and you were just starting and you're just meeting everybody, and now what is the position you hold with the IPOF?
I'm currently the secretary.
Right. And so, it's very special. And so I just want you to know that from a standpoint of, from me, that we appreciate you. You know what I mean? Appreciate what you do for the IPOF and, you know, and all that type of stuff, and for the North Las Vegas and everything like this. But, you know, people don't get a chance always to see you because they just see you on the TV and things of that nature. And so I just want people to know that, you know, how much of a great guy you are. I'm just telling you, and things of that nature, and that you are approachable. And things of that nature. So if you see you know what I mean, you can come up and say hi and stuff like that, because it's always a great conversation. We don't have too long to spend, but it always is a great conversation. So I appreciate you coming on to the Trooper Talk.
No, thank you very much, Neil. I
Trooper
appreciate
Wellman
it.
and I, you know, means so much to us.
Thank
You know what I
you.
mean?
Yes.
All right, so you ready to give everybody a big wave? We always wave at the end. Ready?
Absolutely.
All right, thanks again. We'll see you real soon.